Welcome to this year's Emerging Translator Mentorship Showcase, celebrating the great work of our 2022 mentees and mentors and giving you, our digital audience, a glimpse of who our emerging translators are and what they have been working on since October 2021. My name is Rebecca de Wald and I'm the Emerging Translator Mentorships Program Manager at the National Centre for Writing. Established in 2010 by Daniel Hahn, the Emerging Translator Mentorships Program is now in its 11th year. Its aim is to develop successive new cohorts of literary translators into English, particularly for languages whose literature is currently underrepresented in English translation. The scheme matches up experienced translators with emerging literary translators for a 6-month period, during which they work together on practical translation projects, developing their craft through working on a chosen text or texts. Mentees receive a £500 bursary, and their mentorship also includes an industry weekend, specially tailored to the needs of emerging translators. Since its inception, the program has supported 108 mentees working in 35 languages. From first mentees Vinit Lal and Anna Homewood to Annie McDermott, Nicky Smalley, Sophie Hughes, Ruth Amatzai-Kemp and Saskia Vogel, to current mentor for Swiss-German Jamie Lee Searle, to name but a few select list of translators' names. The program would not be what it is without the enthusiasm of Vicky Maitland, so a huge thank you to you for your dedication to the program. The mentorships also would not exist without the commitment of our mentors and the support from our partners. We are immensely grateful to the myriad of funders who have made the program possible for the past decade. Thanks to Arts Council England, to Howard Curtis, who has been mentoring Amarelus Gachapo with support from the Istituto Italiano di Cultura, to Juliet Winters-Carpenter for mentoring Yuki Tejima, supported by the Tadashi Yanai Initiative for Globalizing Japanese Humanities at UCLA and Waseda University, to Anton Hur for mentoring Shana Tan, supported by LTI Korea, to our Latvian mentor Kaja Stromanis, who has been working with Jeva Lakota, funded by Latvian Literature. Thanks to Kari Dixon, who has been mentoring Lisa Laudal-Bryn, supported by the Royal Norwegian Embassy. Thanks to Antonia Lloyd-Jones for mentoring Jessen Mitchell with support from the Polish Cultural Institute in London. Thank you to Oliver Reddy, who has been working with Irina Sadovina, supported by the Russian Institute for Literary Translation. And to Jamie Lee Searle, who has been mentoring Astrid Froila with support from Pro Helvetia. Thank you to Mina Kandasamy for mentoring Chila Toldi, and Sawat Hussain for working with Salma Harland, both as part of our Visual Communities program coordinated by Kay Griffin. And to Chana Marasligal, who has been working with mentee Hanna Leliv in Ukraine as part of the British Centre for Literary Translation and the British Council Mentorship. BCLT and the British Council have also kindly funded additional mentoring sessions for Hannah and runner-up Umesh Kumar with mentor Ross Schwartz, so thanks for that as well. The introductions and readings were recorded in advance. If you're joining us live for our premiere, you can participate in the live chat on the right side of this page. Our emerging translators will be watching and maybe responding. The translators will be reading short extracts from their mentorship projects. Foreign rights to the translations are all still available. If you would like to read a longer extract, we will be including a link to the ebook version of this year's anthology at the end of this video and in the show notes. If you are interested in contacting the translators directly, you will find their contact details in the anthology itself. Alternatively, feel free to get in touch with us at NCW via info@nationalcentreforwriting.org.uk. Without further ado, I hope you enjoy the following showcase, presenting you the finest work by new literary translation talents working today.
Hello, my name is Lisa Dalgreen and I'm a translator and theatre maker from Stavanger, Norway, based both in Norway and England. I work primarily between Norwegian and English, and I translate plays and literary fiction. I'm passionate about literature and theatre that jars and challenges, that is written by underrepresented authors, and that addresses social issues of some kind, particularly to do with gender and sexuality, disability, including mental health, and social and economic inequality. I also love translating literature that is absurd, darkly funny, and linguistically playful. My sample is an extract from the contemporary novel Heroin Chic by Maria Schulz von, about a young woman named Elisa, an upper-class talented singer who struggles with existential anxiety, anorexia and sexual abuse as a teenager, and eventual heroin addiction, recovery, and relapse are unflinchingly narrated in poetic, uncompromising prose. It's also a distinctly female entry into a genre otherwise dominated by male voices, the drug novel, as encapsulated by its title, and serves as a reflection of Norwegian society, On the surface, problem-free, but rife with underlying social issues. The following extract is from the part of the novel covering her teens. I listened to Messiaen's Le Réveil des Oiseaux. You can hear the birds patter, twitter, flap, how the pianist's hands move over the keys like birds' feet, pit-a-pat, carefully, or incisively, black birds swooping through the cloud cover, wing beats, in the middle of the sky, no bearings, only air. I'll say it like it is. Starvation, when you have a talent for it, is a delight. Everything spins and lights up like a carnival. The colors are sharp, your joints are sharp. I cannibalized myself. I gnawed at my knuckles, ate of my brain, my heart. If I were to paint a picture of anorexia, a girl with a wild look in her eyes, standing by a fridge and gnawing her own arm. I went to the music studio in the basement during lunch, where I could rehearse and no one was around to notice I didn't eat. I swayed. I had to support myself in the piano while I sang. Smudged new dark circles under my eyes in the disabled toilet after I'd cried. Collapsed, lay on trampled toilet paper. Nice to just lie there, lovely to rest. During lessons, my head got slower and slower, and when we had music theory, I read about the concept collando over and over again, gradually increasing, both in strength and tempo. Staccato, short, sharp. The repetition symbol was 2 lines into colon. They turned into spindly stick figures before my eyes. I put my head in my hands, sank onto the desk, to rest forever for a few seconds. Decrescendo. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Astrid Froila. I'm a British-Swiss translator based in Gloucestershire, and I work from German into English. My focus is on Swiss writing by contemporary authors, in particular literary and historical fiction, as well as crime. The sample I'm presenting is taken from Zora del Buono's Gotthard, a darkly humorous novella that explores themes not usually associated with the picturesque alpine world. Set on and around the construction site of the Gotthard base tunnel completed in 2016, the novella is narrated from the alternating perspectives of 8 characters who are all connected to the tunnel in some way. Thrown into their midst is Fritz Bergonthal, a train spotter and neatly groomed bachelor from Berlin who has travelled to the Gotthard to pursue his hobby. He is a cautious soul, but in the course of a single day he becomes increasingly embroiled in local affairs after meeting the eccentric pensioner Dora Müller. In the extract I'm going to read to you, Bergonthal has set up his equipment in one of the valley's prime train-spotting locations and is reflecting on his recent encounter with Dora and her rather formidable daughter Flavia. Bergonthal looked at his watch. In 10 minutes the train would emerge from the upper loop tunnel, and another 1.5 minutes after that he'd see it coming towards him head-on, travelling at a steady rather than fast speed due to the many bends. That was the brilliant thing about this spot. Nothing happened quickly, and you could keep an eye on everything. There would be no surprises. He felt flustered, less because of the TE2 and more, he had to admit this to himself, because of the recent encounter with the mother and daughter. He wouldn't say he was aroused exactly, that would be going too far. Or perhaps just a tiny bit. He had still been kneeling on the tarmac fiddling about with his camera while Dora, at this point they were already on first-name terms, was sitting in his chair and babbling on about a fig liqueur recipe that a Sicilian construction worker called Vico had given her back in 1974. It was at this point that Flavia had climbed out of her lorry and walked towards them, slowly, with long strides, until he saw the pointy cowboy boots right in front of him, and saw too how the startled Dora quickly pressed together her bare thighs, and following Flavia's cutting remark, bashfully crossed her legs. That was when he finally stood up, a little stiffly. He felt overwhelmed by the opposing poles of this double femininity. Thank you for listening.
Hello, my name is Amarelus Gachapo and I'm a writer and translator based in Palermo, Sicily, working from Italian to English and mentored by Howard Curtis. When it comes to translation, I enjoy making use of my skills as a creative writer and academic. I'm drawn to literary fiction and experimental non-fiction, particularly essays, that features a strong voice or different registers, as well as academic or theoretical writing. The following sample comes from a novel by Italian author Federica Manzon called Il Bosco del Confine, or The Woods on the Border, in my translation. It mostly follows a young woman from the Italian city of Trieste on her various trips to Sarajevo across decades. However, my sample is taken from a chapter told from the perspective of Luca, a Montenegrin friend the narrator made as a teenager. Here we find him writing to our narrator back in Trieste from a 1993 Sarajevo in the throes of the Bosnian War. I'm sorry, I can't seem to write a proper letter like you did. It must be all the books I burned to make coffee or heat up a tin of meat, and now Goethe or Apuleius or that bastard Dostoevsky have laid a curse on me. All I'm able to do is record the days here, when I feel up to keeping track. I'll send you all the sheets of paper together, a nice bundle, a first-hand report from the city of the dead. Cool, right? Besides, flowers are no longer the thing here, apart from roses. Sorry, I'm being stupid. It's just that I can't manage to write for too long. I can't concentrate. Anyway, it was nice to get your letter. So, the rest of the world still knows we exist? Good job remembering the address after all this time. I don't plan on moving, so I hope you'll send me more. I'll do my best to write you too. In the name of our Olympic Games. Scout's honor. Yesterday afternoon I went to the theatre. I was bored at home. They were staging The Hollow. The actors were just skin and bones, and there were exactly 2 dim little lights from candle ends, so that it was like being in a ghost theatre. An unforgettable show. At the end, we all hugged. We're all skin and bones. I don't know how much longer we can go on for. We hugged and we were crying. Not from despair, but because the performance was so wonderful. That's how Sarajevo is.
Hi, my name is Talma Ahmed. I'm an Egyptian-born, England-based literary translator who works between Arabic and English. I contribute to decolonizing and diversifying literary translation by translating key Arabic texts, both classical and contemporary, that have been forgotten or understated in English translation. My current work in progress, which I have been working on since the spring of 2021 and over the course of my mentorship, brings the dazzling poetry of 10th century court poet, master chef and polymath Koshagem from classical Arabic into English for the first time. From 3-liners about the harem with its cross-dressed male and female dances and medieval musical instruments, to longer poems dedicated to the delectable Abbasid cuisine and the art of gift-giving, my annotated translations of selected poems by Koshagem uncover a treasure trove of insightful material about the Arab Islamic Middle Ages through poems that are endearingly human and fun to read. I'll now read my translation of one of Koshagem's poems titled Elegizing a Handkerchief, where elegy, comedy, and ekphrastic poetry playfully overlap as the jilted poet mourns a very unlikely object of infatuation. I'm not weeping over a mortal's death, but over a handkerchief which a dainty antelope desired, and so I yielded reluctantly. It was fine spun, with unsurpassed craftsmanship, as if the delicacy of its ornate details was derived from the tenderness of lovers, as if it was knit from long silky eyelashes interlaced like ants' legs in wet sand, as if its woven embellishments were the plumage of a strutting peacock or ruff. It was well used, yet its beauty reinvigorated it, that it never became a threadbare old rag. Many a note from a beloved had been inscribed on its folds, then stained with sweet lips to cool my kindling heart. Many a tender farewell it waved, that has since possessed my weary soul. It cleaned cups from the last dregs of their drinks, and silver platters whenever they were crowned or wreathed with delish dips, and books made their charms be revealed. It fondly clung to my ring every time I held it, but time seized it. Verily, he brings many unsettling, grievous afflictions. My handkerchief has since been drained back and restrained in the sleeve of a strutting beauty. Thank you.
My name is Jessen Mitchell. I translate from Polish into English, although sometimes, if the mood strikes, I work on Russian language pieces. I like to translate humor. This is quite challenging, but it seems wrong to let Polish speakers have all the laughs. I also work on creative nonfiction and essays. I found that writers in the former communist world are most keenly aware of the fact that life can be more absurd and interesting than fiction. Let me share an excerpt of my translation of The List of Adulteresses, a short novel by the Polish satirist Jerzy Piłch. Is it humor? Is it nonfiction? I'll let you decide. Chapter 1, The Opening Bars of the Ballad of the Procurer. In the mid-80s, I tried to convince at least one of several lady friends to cast aside their scruples, coldly consider the pros and cons, and embark on a short-term intimacy with a Swedish scholar. I was standing before a payphone, cooling my burning forehead against its faded green armor and feverishly riffling through the pages of my tidy little pocket diary. There, the maiden and married names and phone numbers written in my characteristic Protestant hand had become a mythical list of temptresses, a pocket diary changed into a forbidding tome of ravishingly scented pages. I like to imagine that I was a budding author, emotionally preparing myself to write something that could be titled The Ballad of the Procurer. On the day he would metamorphose from a scholar of the humanities into a Mac Daddy, Gustav was woken by the telephone. That is how the first sentence of the book, pitiless in every respect, would sound. The number I dialed most often was that of Yola Łukasik. I felt that Yola, of all people, would willingly, if not eagerly, perform for the Swedish scholar in her role as an inspired imposter, a fallen Mother Poland, showing up in full makeup and ambiguous ensemble to ensnare the starving Swede with a classic repertoire of meaningful glances and bald gestures. I was certain she'd materialize the instant I called. At this hour, she couldn't possibly be busy. She should be at home. The only real obstacle could be Alexander, her awful bastard child. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Eva Lakota and I'm a Latvian English literary translator, and I've had the absolute pleasure of being mentored by Kaja Straumanis. Paldies tev, Kaja. I have quite a broad range of interests when it comes to translations, including literary fiction and non-fiction, with a particular soft spot for translating drama. Last year, I completed the Theatre Translators Mentorship with Foreign Affairs, where I worked on a translation of Damas, or Ladies, a play about 3 generations of women sharing a flat in Riga by the award-winning Latvian playwright Justina Kļava. For this mentorship, I've been working on a translation of Cabaret Siberia, a musical written by the multi-talented Latvian playwright, scriptwriter and director Lauris Gundars, accompanied by original music by the Estonian composer Siim Aimla. This translation of Cabaret Siberia seems to come at a poignant time. The musical explores the tragic themes of the 1940s USSR mass deportations, a culturally significant event for the Baltic nations, during which hundreds of thousands of people perished in exile and hard labor camps under the reign of Stalin, including almost 1/3 of Latvia's entire population at the time. The musical follows the story of 2 Estonian cabaret artists, Max and Mel. One night, following their show in Tallinn, they are arrested and exiled to Siberia. You'll be pleased to know that I won't be attempting to sing. I will leave that to people who are much more talented than me. But I am going to read an extract from the middle section of the musical, where Max and Mel come up with a song in an attempt to comfort the children who are crammed inside the train carriage with them. I hope you'll enjoy the reading. Mel. No one told us what was going on or where we were headed. And there were people there. I mean, babies. Max. I get it. It's hard to change the way you think. These things take time. Mel. There were 3 babies in our carriage. 3, 4, and 6 months old. They survived only a little while. Max. I know, it's really hard to change the way you think. The children especially struggled with it. We wanted to cheer them up. It was really tight and stuffy in the carriage, but we managed to pull it off. We made a special song just for the children. Half of the passengers were children. The music starts. Max. If you want a nice surprise, pull the curtain shut. Something is waiting for you at the next stop, because this train is taking us to Wonderland. Song number 5, Chugga Chugga Choo Choo. Max and Mel are singing. The first night, the first stop. Pull the curtain shut. Don't look, no need. I'll tell you just how beautiful it is. This is the land of bunnies. You can jump and skip as much as you please. Hooray, hooray, hooray. Mel. But will skipping be enough? Max. I'll tell you in the morning. Max and Mel. Let's keep moving. Chorus. Choo choo, chugga chugga choo choo. There goes our train, taking us to Wonderland. Everyone is smiling there, even cats and dogs. Thank you for listening.
Hello, I'm Hanna Lelif and I'm a freelance translator based in Lviv, Ukraine. I'm working between Ukrainian and English, translating mostly fiction. In particular, I've been deeply honored to give a Ukrainian voice to Ernest Hemingway and Kazuo Ishiguro. And now I'm very excited about giving voice to Ukrainian writers in the English-speaking world. My sample comes from The Invisible, a novel by a contemporary Ukrainian writer, Ivan Baidak. The main hero, a 26-year-old designer Adam, the author's alter ego, is diagnosed with Tourette's syndrome. He's looking back at his rollercoaster relationship with an abusive father, and then he guides us through his more recent experiences. Adam joins a therapy group and meets 3 people with disfiguring disorders. The novel lets us hear the voices of these 4 millennials pushing against othering and struggling to accept and love their bodies as they are. So here is my sample, and it's the very start of the novel. Our family always had dinner in silence. My father would return home irritable after an exhausting shift at the factory, and he couldn't bear our chatter. Mama knew his habits all too well, and she could tell whenever he wanted a second helping, a pinch of salt, or another beer. I was expected to finish my meal as quickly as possible and make myself scarce. I liked it better when my father had night shifts. Then Mama and I could joke and laugh a lot. It's not that I didn't love my father, I just felt more comfortable having dinner when I wasn't worrying that I might drop a knife on the floor or stain the tablecloth. That night, Father came home wiped. He drank more than usual and vented to Mama about his boss, and then he started grilling me about things at school and the sports club. Once he had heard what he wanted, he reached for another beer. "Stop blinking!" Father burst out, glaring at me. I froze. Then I grew agitated and started blinking even harder. "Didn't you go to the doctor last month?" he asked Mama. "Yes, but he said that tics aren't easily cured." "Then find another doctor who can sort him out. Last thing I need is people thinking that my son is dumb." Mama was angry, but she held back. I couldn't hold back my tics. Thank you.
My name is Irina Sadovina, and I'm a Russian to English translator based in Sheffield. I'm passionate about literature that reflects ethnic diversity. This interest is informed by my academic background in comparative literature and folklore, but it stems from my childhood. My ethnic background is Mari, and I grew up in a bilingual household in the Mari Republic. The following sample is taken from White Moss, or Белый Ягель, a novel by Anna Nierkage, a writer of Nenet's origin whose work ranges from fiction to apocalyptic prophecy. The novel is set in a small nomadic community of reindeer herders in the far north. It begins with a young man hopelessly in love with a girl who has left the tundra. Pressured by his relatives and neighbors, he agrees to marry someone else, but refuses to follow Nenet's customs, throwing the small community into crisis. This short excerpt focuses on the young man's mother, who on the day of the wedding is overcome by doubt. Here she is leading her son's new wife into their chum, which is a tent-like dwelling made out of reindeer skins. And when they got back, and needed for the sake of appearances if nothing else, to perform the sacred ritual of bringing the new mistress into her new chum, into a life that is easy to enter but hard to leave, the woman held her young daughter-in-law's hand tightly, more tightly than necessary, and froze before the flap at the entrance of the tent. She was overcome by soul-scalding fear. Was this a good omen? Would this girl be happy in her chum with her son? Shouldn't they come to their senses? Maybe her son was right. He wasn't 16 after all, he was 26, a fully grown man who by this time of life should already have not one but 2 or 3 children in every corner of the chum. After all, he too had a head, not a hummock, on his shoulders. Maybe the truth of their old, not always abundant life had died, as everything else dies, and some new, entirely other truth had been born. Every time has its own face, and therefore its own truth. But the woman straightened herself out. To think too long is to stay too long in one place. It's too late to think. The truth of life is the same, and its meaning remains this: to live and to work, honestly.
My name is Shanna Tan and I'm a Singaporean translator working from Korean, Chinese and Japanese into English. I'm drawn to prose on heritage and space as well as stories giving voices to ordinary folks and their struggles. The following sample is taken from the 2021 Korean bestseller, The Inconvenience Store by Kim Ho-yeon. It is a composite novel of 8 linked stories about people working in a 24-hour convenience store in Seoul. A homeless man suffering from alcohol-induced amnesia is offered a part-time job at the store, and his unconventional mannerisms touch the lives of the employees, customers, and family members of the store as he slowly assimilates back into society, regains his memories, and confronts his past. The book has impact, the slow burn type, the kind that nudges you to gently shift your perspectives a little, chip away at the stereotypes, and experience the powerful irreparable effect of a small act of kindness as it continues to be paid forward throughout the story before coming full circle. So I'll be reading the extract now. There is a regular Shihan can do without. Judging from the frequency of his appearance, the JS, code word for obnoxious customers, aka Chinsang, probably moved into Chongpadong recently. Likely in his mid-40s, the JS has a scrawny frame and bulging eyes that give the impression of a nasty temple. From his very first visit, he has been tossing money on the counter and speaking informally, treating Shihan like a personal robot at his beck and call. She can't even complain, not when he holds his mistakes like a trump card. Shihan can only fume in silence. One time he appeared at the counter with snacks that were on a 3-for-2 sale until the previous day. Why not? He demanded when told that the discount could not be applied. Sir, this promotion ended yesterday. So why didn't you take down the tag? I spent time deciding on this. Are you saying I've just wasted my time? I want the discount. I'm not able to do that. The promotion dates are clearly stated on the tag. If you had checked. Ridiculous, I'm far-sighted. You expect me to read the teeny print? Isn't it common sense that people in their 40s are far-sighted? Shouldn't you have enlarged the font? Are you discriminating against us? I demand the discount as your apology. Sir, I'm sorry, but this is difficult. Forget the crappy snacks, he huffed. Cigarettes. Which one would you like, sir? I get the same one every day and you still can't remember it? No wonder business is going down the toilet when you treat the regulars this way. Her first mistake was not removing the expired tag. Her second mistake was to lose her calm and ask the obvious. Technically, the JS could have read the tag and not get the snacks if not for his long-sightedness, but the letter was definitely not a mistake. However, the damn GS just wanted to fudge the situation and be extra vindictive. Thank you!
Hello, my name is Yuki Tejima, and I'm based in Tokyo and Los Angeles, and work between English and Japanese. My hope is to bring to English readers the voices of women in contemporary Japan that break from convention in spirit and in voice. The following sample is from a 2015 novel by award-winning author Asako Yuzuki called Nairu Pachi no Joshikai, which I've translated as Nile Perch Girls. The novel, set in Tokyo, is a vibrant examination of female friendships that travels deep into the interior lives of actual women rather than the sensationalized version often portrayed in the media. Yuzuki asks whether women are born with a natural competitiveness or if they've been shaped by society to compete and outdo. Her protagonists are Eriko, a type A, career-oriented 30-year-old woman, and Shoko, the happily married blogger behind the popular website The Lazy Housewife. She refuses to live by society's rules. In this scene, Eriko has been unable to get a hold of her new friend Shoko, emphasis on new, for several days. Worried, she tracks down Shoko's home and pays her a visit. The sample begins with a line from one of Shoko's recent blog posts. It's an old apartment building with stucco walls right behind the rice shop. That's how Shoko had described her home on the blog. Eriko quickened her pace, trying to recall the view from the window as seen in one of Shoko's blog photos. She remembered a telephone pole and a red brick apartment. Yes, there they are. And right across the street, a white building with stucco walls. Bingo. She walked toward the building and through the entrance, her heart swelling with satisfaction. She quickly spotted the mailbox with Maruvo on the nameplate. Apartment 303. The box didn't appear to be overflowing. She tried to jiggle it open, but it was, of course, locked. Eriko? A voice said from behind her. There stood Shoko, her eyes wide with surprise. Shoko! Eriko felt herself go limp with relief. Oh my God, she's safe. The short, stocky man next to her must be her husband. They didn't seem well matched, Shoko being so thin and willowy, but that was neither here nor there. Eriko ignored the husband and faced Shoko, all but clinging to her friend. I couldn't get a hold of you, and I thought you were in some kind of danger. You were telling me about those creepy emails, remember? And since you mentioned the other day that you live around here, I decided I'd try to find you. Wait, did I say where I live? Shoko gave a nervous laugh. How could she forget? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Csilla Toldi. I'm a writer and translator based in Northern Ireland. I work between English, Hungarian and German. I lived and studied in Germany for 15 years before moving to the UK with a writer's visa. I have an MA in creative writing and I am very interested in translating challenging contemporary fiction and poetry. The following example is taken from the novel Metaxa by the Hungarian writer László Garaci. Metaxa is a poetic one-sentence novel set in Hungary, America and Germany. It is a brilliant and uncompromising work of fiction that captures the increasing alienation of the individual, which became a shared experience of Eastern Europeans after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Daniel Bart, a Hungarian reviewer, said about this award-winning novel that Garaci has found a tone which is stubborn, anarchistic, and abstract all at once. It is fragmented while also infinitely plastic. The images are ecstatically palpable, the events so intense it's almost like a drug trip. After a storm in spring, a sparkling light appeared in Zsolt's staircase. A newspaper published a picture of it too. A thunderball. We learnt a new word, thunderball. After this, something constantly took fire in Zsolt's home. On a goblin hanging in the living room, a Parisian Jacqueline lights up a cigarette and exactly there a brown fleck appears and bursts into flames. They flap it with wet towels. Cinders ensued. Or another time, Auntie Mani was coming home from her shopping, and the door handle was red hot, and the crocheted doll on the keyring burned to ashes. A fire goblin rampaged in their flat. Localized fires, the fireman said. They don't spread, but concentrate on targeted objects. A little circular hole in the Persian carpet. The shoelace blazes through the shoe. The milk carton smolders, only the block of frozen milk is left in the freezer. The label on the wine bottle flares, the hair roller melts, the cigarette smokes itself. In the night, Jolt goes to the toilet for a pee and sees the glowing nostrils of his sleeping aunt. After the repeated call-outs, the firemen performed a thorough, comprehensive examination. Electric discharge, high-frequency radio waves, auto-ignition gases gathering in the walls, or perhaps the children throw matches after all. On his birthday, Jolt is standing in front of the window, the newspapers hovering in the draft. How many years, how many forgotten, never returning days, hours, minutes. A pigeon lands on the windowsill, head spinning spasmodically, dives into the abyss. The feathers ignite, and the flames bite into the curtain's seam. They move away from the area. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed our showcase and that the short extracts our wonderful translators have read are making you yearn for more. If so, you're in luck. You can read longer versions in this year's digital anthology at the link on the following slide. If you would prefer a physical copy of the anthology, you can also register to have it posted to you via our website. If you're interested in any or all of our translation activities and programs at NCW, please go to our website at www.nationalcenterforwriting.org.uk/translation. Applications for the 2022-23 programme will open in July 2022. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.